Thank you very much for joining me here today.
Thank you.
Let's start off with discussing how are things going, with the airport network. How did the pandemic impact, and what can we expect for the upcoming summer months?
Thank you. The things in the airport network that we manage are going really well in terms of traffic. We were very lucky with the pandemic, in the sense that we had a number of airports that have very high number of corporate and general aviation traffic, and that didn't suffer any reduction in terms of flow and traffic during the pandemic. And now we're seeing that for the commercial traffic, we're back almost to 85% of pre-pandemic numbers. So we've been really lucky with the way things have gone in our network. Things that the summer are bringing, of course, challenging times in terms of coping up with the demand. We're seeing, of course, an increase in demand and number of operations and passengers throughout all the facilities. And it's always as well the concern if we have enough resources to make sure that we can manage the continuity and the operations. And of course, we are ready and we are embracing the challenge, but it's a challenge like for all the other colleagues in the industry that we are really, very much focusing on.
Absolutely, we can all hope for a positive summer.
Yeah.
Let's hope.
Absolutely.
So, because of COVID, there's become a new passenger with new expectations. So, how are your airports meeting these, and what can we expect? Is it going to stay the same, or do we think passengers are always going to be evolving?
Totally believe that passengers are going to evolve. Different segments of passengers with different generations. Now, different expectations as well in terms of what to see and how to experience the airport and the whole aviation end-to-end processes. More control of all the different aspects, choice, and as well different patterns in departing and arriving. This is something that we are really taking a really big look at, and it's the fact that with remote working and more flexible arrangements, the patterns of travel around holidays and weekends have changed and have shifted. And then we need to change with those, because some of our shifts and our staffing would be depending on those ones, and we really want to understand and to make sure that we follow those changes and those trends in the market.
Absolutely. And how does digitalization and technological advancements play a role in the passenger experience?
Well, it's a huge role in terms of putting the passengers and the customers in control of their journey. And at the same time, internally for us and to manage the operations, just to give the employees and the airport community more information about what is going on real time, what options and what decisions need to be made in order to keep the airport running and keep the airport running safely, efficiently, and with all the desired levels of experience that now everybody is demanding. And it's not just something good to have anymore, it's a requirement. It needs to be the standard now.
And I must ask, can we talk a bit about the robot dog? So how is robotics going to change the airport experience?
We see that there is a big opportunity for robotics and automation in the airport experience. And of course, there are a lot of different uses and options and cases that we can apply. But in the term of the use for us of the robotic dog and our experience with that specific platform has been very useful to create a new amenity and a new way of interact with the passengers, to provide something that is not expected but is a nice distraction and a nice way to spend time as well at the airport, in places, especially at the airports where we are at, where when you get to the gate, the processes are very fast. but suddenly you don't have a lot of things to do before your flight. So that introduces an additional way of interacting with the passengers and getting that wow factor with a small footprint and with something that is very manageable and very easy to really provide support without requiring a lot of resources. So that's, for us, that has been the benefit for this robotic dog experience.
That's brilliant. And I'm guessing in terms of passengers, it's helping with inclusivity and for the passengers who perhaps feel overwhelmed at the airport or need a distraction.
Absolutely. We had, of course, that experience in the pilot that we conducted right before the pandemic in 2019 at Westchester Airport. We saw that especially for families traveling with children. And I know personally, I'm a father of 2 boys, and I know how stressful it can be to travel with a family for everybody in the family. We saw that having that amenity there and having that unexpected way of distressing a little bit became really important to start seeing smiles in passengers where before there was like stress. And of course, something that we want to explore, as you mentioned, is some disability support or hidden disabilities or some other segments of the traveling public that could benefit from having this experience as well. And last but not least as well, we saw that our employees, the staff, the colleagues, they were getting very excited as well with the experience, managing that and getting exposed to that and taking care of that new way of interacting was something important for them, and they felt like more part of the team and have like a new way of as well getting together in the team by having that new feature to offer to the customers. So we thought that was a win as well for the project.
Very interesting. But did you come across any challenges with the pilot program?
Well, yes, of course. It's always first and foremost is safety. So we were very concerned about making sure that the interaction with the robot was safe. So that was why we decided not to get the robot uncontrolled on floor areas, open areas, because we didn't want anybody to trip or to fall. Then, of course, in the table, it was very controlled when it was there, but we were, of course, taking care of the cleanliness, and when people were touching, just getting aware of any potential issues with, having people touching it repeated times and keeping it clean and keeping it sanitized. And we believe that this is going to be one of the new aspects that will focus when we relaunch the pilot project, just to understand if people, passengers, customers are ready to go back and interact and to touch. There is a lot of touch in this experience with the dog, because at the end of the day, it's a little robot pet. Mm-hmm. So that might be something that has changed in the way somebody might feel, well, I'm not ready to touch something that I'm not sure if it's clean or not. So we plan really to make sure that everybody sees that we are keeping it clean, sanitized, and ready to be part of the interaction.
Absolutely. So I thought we'd just move on to sustainability for a little bit. So what sustainability initiatives do you have in place across the network?
Right, yeah, for us now, and I think for everybody in the industry, one of the top priorities is sustainability, reducing our carbon footprint, finding ways to really augment projects and value for the community around us by being a focus on that sustainable environment and sustainable operations. A couple of projects that we are running at the moment at several airports in our network. One is we are experiencing with hydrogen vehicles. Basically, we're installing hydrogen dispensers, partnering with a green hydrogen provider, and then having some vehicles, small vehicles, just focusing on the landside areas for the moment, and get to use and get familiar with that process of refueling with the hydrogen and managing those ones. We believe that there is a role for fuel cell hydrogen vehicles in the airport environment, together with battery electric vehicles and other electrification and hybrid solutions. But we're really willing to try and willing to make that step to offer an additional way of reducing the carbon footprint. And also we have as well initiative to really understand very well what is the life cycle of the fleet of vehicles at the airport, in what specific time in that return on investment on the initial investment on the vehicles we are at the moment, and potential retrofit into hybrid or electric or fuel cell powered vehicles for existing vehicles that they can work still well. They are still a lifetime ahead of them, and it might be very expensive just to think now of replacing them with a new vehicle that is zero emissions. But there might be opportunities to retrofit and just to modify it so we can reduce the emissions, but at the same time we can keep using the same platform. Focusing a lot on heavier vehicles, potential opportunities for snow removal, for lawn mowing, for even firefighting vehicles, that we think that will be the next wave of trying to reduce that carbon footprint for the fleets in the airport environment.
That's great to hear. And so what is the future of aviation to you? What's the outlook?
Well, I'm really passionate about electrification of aviation and reducing the emissions for aircraft. I believe that as an industry we have a huge opportunity to embrace that new way of traveling with electric aircraft, hybrid aircraft. In the future, soon we'll have some more traction with sustainable aviation fuels and also hydrogen in the future to come. So I'm really passionate about that. I feel that there is a role for small commuter aircraft, especially from regional airports like the ones we operate on behalf of municipalities and counties and authorities, and use those smaller, greener, more efficient electric aircraft to really provide an additional way and means of transport for those communities that can be something that before was not possible with conventional aircraft. Also with air taxis and electrical vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, we believe that there is a role to play for airports to integrate those technologies and to be ready. We know that airport planning and developing and integration is not something that happens overnight. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort, permits, a lot of work. But we need to start now if we want to be ready for the next years to come, in order to plan and to make sure that we have all the community aligned to embrace this. So when the aircraft are ready and everybody, the public, is ready to fly and to accept and to embrace that technology, the airports are already there, completely ready to make it happen and not waiting 5 more years just to get to agree on what we need to have at the airport infrastructure. That's what makes me feel very excited about the opportunities that we have ahead of us.
I couldn't agree more.